Welcome to another episode of Behind the Now. Today I get to chat with Emmy Award winning writer and producer, Mark Blutman, widely known for his success on Boy Meets World, Girl Meets World, and Apple TV's Ghostwriter. Mark originally began his own story as an actor and stand-up comedian. Listen in to be inspired, learn about the writer's strike, and gain one-of-a-kind insights into showrunning, screenwriting, and the overall production process from one of the best. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for doing this with me today. I'm so excited to talk with you. You're so amazing. So thank you for being here.
Well, my pleasure. I hope I'm amazing. I hope I live up to it.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to just start with, how did you get into writing and producing at all? Like, what's your background? Yeah.
So my origin story is, it's really interesting too, Jenna, because everybody, when you talk to young people who want advice on how to start out and they hear your story, they're like, okay, great. That's what I got to do. And I try and tell people, nobody's going to have the same story. Yeah. Everybody's going to have something different. And so for me, I started off as an actor and a stand-up comedian. And I moved out to LA at 22 years old from Montreal, and I was a regular at the Comedy Store, and I would go on the road and play comedy clubs all over the States. And I acted in film and TV. I was on a soap opera out in New York called All My Children. I did that way back in my 20s. I was on Hill Street Blues. I did a movie called Meatballs 3 with Patrick Dempsey when Patrick was like 19, and I think I was like 21 or something. And so that was my background. And I did it for about 10 years, and I did okay. I mean, I was okay. I wasn't great. I'm actually being kind to myself. I wasn't okay. In acting, I was not good at all. And I remember, in fact, it was after, it's true. And, that's one of the good things is being self-aware. Right. After, I did Meatballs 3 with Patrick Dempsey, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be the next, like, Bill Murray, Robin Williams, Eddie Murray. I'm going to be huge. And then I went to the premiere with my brother. And to show you how into it and how much I believed I'd be big, I rented a tuxedo. So I had this tuxedo with a yellow cummerbund, yellow bow tie, and yellow Converse. I was all trying to style out and, and the movie starts and I'm in the first scene. And you could see me start sinking in my chair. And every time I spoke, I went lower and lower. Okay. I wanted to disappear. And I looked up at my brother and I said, I suck, don't I? And he said, yeah, you're not good at all. And so I knew it was horrible. And I knew if I wanted to make it in this business, and I loved LA and I loved showbiz and the friends I was hanging out with that I knew from Canada where I grew up who were out in LA doing their thing and doing very well. I knew like one of my friends was a huge comedian and actor and he was doing amazing. I knew I wasn't that good. I was, again, being kind, I was okay, but I wasn't okay. And so I started writing. I came up one night, literally in a dream, I came up with like this movie idea, like this story. Yeah. And I woke up the next morning and my buddy was filming a movie in North Carolina called Little Monsters with Fred Savage. And I called him up and I said, listen, man, I woke up with this amazing idea for a movie. It's called 10 Wishes. It's about a 30-year-old arrested development type of kid who still acts like he's 18 years old and having fun and goofing around, and people want him to get serious with his life. And his boss says, if you get serious, there's a promotion here at the company. And his girlfriend's like, I want a ring. I want commitment. If you want to be with me, then let's get married. And I need you to get serious. And so he makes a conscious choice to be serious with his life. In the meantime, he's on vacation with his fiance, well, girlfriend at the time, and in this beautiful underwater proposal, like he motions her down, they're scuba diving, and he motions her down to a chest, and she cranks it, and it opens up, and balloons with a ring, and he like gets engaged, and it's gorgeous. Meantime, there's a boat, a party boat, and a little baby gets out of its car seat, like little, gets the straps off and ends up falling in the water off the edge of the boat. And our hero saves the baby's life and gives the baby back to this weird kind of exotic gypsy looking woman. And she says, thank you for saving my baby. I hope everything you ever wish for comes true. And basically, the concept of the movie was all the childhood wishes he made as a kid, back when he was a child, they start to come true as an adult.
Oh, I love that.
He all these amazing fun wishes. And then his grandfather, who died when he was 13 years old and was his best friend, and that was me in real life. I was very close with my grandfather. His grandfather shows up, who had died years earlier. And so now he knows what's going on. Oh my gosh, these are my childhood wishes. They're all coming true.
Yeah.
And he's got one wish left and he can't remember what it was. And the wishes are happening one a day, every 24 hours. And it flashes back to like his 14th birthday party. And him and his friends and family, they're all at like this picnic area at an amusement park. And him and his brother are fighting. They're screaming at each other and yelling. And the mother's frustrated. She just brings the birthday cake, throws it down and says, just blow out your candles and make a wish. And he looks at his brother, looks down at the cake, blows out the candles. It cuts back to him in the present. Oh my gosh, I remember my last wish. I wish my brother was dead.
Oh, wow.
And all these wishes are coming true. So him and his grandfather now have 24 hours to undo the wish and save his brother's life. And they do. So
that's crazy though. That came to you in a dream.
Came to me in a dream. The whole thing.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I'm telling my friend and he says, let me call you back in a half hour. He calls me back with the producers of his movie. Mark, tell them the story. I tell them the story and they buy it.
Oh.
They buy it on the spot. And they say, we'll pay you X amount to write it. And then we have a first look deal at 20th Century Fox. And then we'll take it to Fox. So I wrote it. They took it to Fox. Fox bought it. I got into the Writers Guild off of that. The movie never got made.
Okay.
But it was a great idea that we even talked about it, 30 years later. Like recently, we talked about how do we get it going again? Because it's such a good story.
It is. Wait, that's so incredible. So
And that was the beginning.
So this was the first thing you wrote. So the first time you wrote a script, you were paid to write it.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
That is so incredible. And also, you pitched. So you pitched the concept, like just the concept, the idea.
Just how I did it to you, now. That's what I
didn't
pitched.
even realize. Okay, amazing. So normally, is that normal? So how does it normally work in general?
There is no normal. That's what Jenna, I tell people all the time. There's no normal. There's no rules. It's like the wild, wild west. You want to know why? Because all the people who have the jobs that you're trying to impress, most of them don't know what they're doing anyway, and they're making stuff up as they go along.
Yeah.
It's all just, nowadays it is harder. Back in the day when I first started out, you could sell something in a room very easily. It's harder now. That doesn't go on as much. But, at the end of the day, good ideas and good scripts are the currency. Right? That's what has value. And ultimately that will usually win out and get somebody's attention after a lot of people say no, that people like to say no. You know why people in Hollywood say no?
Why?
That's how they keep their job. It's true.
Yeah, it is.
If they say yes to something and fight for something and take it to their bosses and convince their bosses that there's value, well, now they have something at stake, their reputation. And so if something they believe in fails, they have no credibility. But if they keep saying no, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job.
I see. So literal, actually.
Literally passing by saying no to writers and their agents. It's how they keep their jobs.
Yeah.
Safe.
Wow. It's
Safe.
safe. It's like out of fear too. It's like just to,
It's a fear-based world we live in. In any field, people, are afraid of screwing up and losing a gig.
Yeah, that's so interesting, actually, because I mean, they have the job. It's like the time that they're there, regardless. So they can be saying yes or they can be saying no. But you're right. If they're saying yes, they have all this extra stakes attached. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never it's very interesting.
Most people have risk aversion. They just, it's much safer. It's the old, did you ever watch Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where George had a job and he would just go under his desk? He would just go under his desk and hang out under his desk for 8 hours. And that way, nobody knew, nobody came to him. He wasn't screwing up. He just hid under his desk. That's half the town in showbiz.
Interesting.
I'm exaggerating a little bit.
I know, but the concept, the principle.
The concept works.
Yeah.
And listen, I always like to say, because I've been doing this a long time, and at this stage of my career, I've had a very, very successful career. So I'm able to talk more and to kind of pull the curtain back and go, here's the reality. Mm-hmm. But let me be clear, there are some amazing executives out there and some amazing, super talented buyers. And there are people out there that know what they're doing, but there's also a lot that don't.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to go back a little bit just to that moment then. So you're watching yourself. So as an actor, so you're watching yourself. Was that just a moment for you where you just knew, or was it something you considered, or what was the emotional impact for you in that moment? And also, had you written before, or was it's that dream, those things have come to you in moments that have really inspiration, they've just come to you, it sounds like.
Right. So,
okay.
To answer the have I written before, as a stand-up comic, I'm constantly writing.
That's true,
right?
Yeah.
And especially my act, a lot of it was improvisation. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly coming up with stuff on the fly, talking to the audience, the situation, where I am, all that stuff. So I was always very fast, very creative, and I had a facile comedy mind. So, and a crazy sick imagination. So although I had not sat down and written anything with structure up until that movie, I knew that it was something that I could probably succeed in. Now, as far as the moment of watching myself and just knowing, it was kind of a slow build. I mean, so All My Children, the soap opera in New York, I was on during the Greg and Jenny time. I was in an audition. They loved me. They brought me back for producers. They loved me. And the part was originally supposed to be 6 months. I played Ernie Jackson, the assistant editor of the Pine Valley Daily Bulletin. 6 months. 1 episode is what it lasted.
Oh, I see.
I sucked. I was not good.
Okay.
I just wasn't good. So there was something where I was fabulous in auditions.
Okay.
Casting directors loved me. But once, for whatever reason, I got on camera, I just wasn't amazing. I was okay. Again, I'm being kind by saying, okay, I obviously sucked. But, I think the whole process and how scary it is and how intimidating auditions are, it made me a very actor-friendly producer in that when I audition young actors, especially kids, I am so accommodating and so, patient and kind. And even if I know somebody is not right for the part, but seeing this little 8-year-old kid in front of me, I don't just, okay, thanks. I'm never that guy. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. How do you think it went? I don't know. Okay, I guess. Well, do you think you can do it better? I don't know, maybe. Well, here's what I think. I think maybe if you made eye contact with the casting director when you're reading, I'm just making up a scenario, you could do better. Let's try it again. So even though I knew I wasn't going to cast this kid, I never wanted to be that producer of, okay, thanks, see you, thanks for coming in. I want everybody to leave feeling as good about themselves as they possibly can. So my journey as a very mediocre actor certainly turned me into a very talent-friendly producer.
Yeah, and I'm sure yeah, and I'm sure it impacted you in many ways. I'm sure like as a writer it helps too to have acted and
Sure.
everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely, one of my strengths as a producer on set is I work really, really well with young
Mm,
actors. I can take a young kid on set and really, really elevate them and
yeah.
bring them to a place and a level of performance that maybe another producer could not get them to.
Yeah, that makes
And I
sense.
think that's part of my background of being an actor and liking kids and knowing how hard it is.
Yeah. So, okay, so in auditions, do you okay, because you're a writer, you're a producer. To what extent do you think it like for actors in auditions, does it bother you if it's like in terms of the writing, like to be loose with the writing and more improv based? Like does that or do you prefer like like really by the script, for instance?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in auditions, they better be really close to the script
Okay.
because if they can't do it close to the script in an audition,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to get it close to the script on set, and it's going to be
Yeah.
a struggle. Now,
Okay.
once they have the part, I'm open,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
as long as, they are consistent with the integrity of the
Right.
scene that we wrote, as long as they're respectful to the words,
Mhm.
as long as they talk to me first about it,
Oh, interesting.
but if
Okay.
they were on set and director yells action and they just go off script, that's a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Unless you're a huge, unless you're Jenna Ortega and you're going to do that because that's what she
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, right. I read. Okay. That's interesting though, because some oh yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. It makes sense, of course, because also like the audition's the very first anything with it. So of course, like if you're not by the book, then who know like then how would you know if they can be by the book, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And so there's always a reason beyond the reason.
What other advice do you have for actors in these situations?
I think the goal is just to connect with the room.
Yeah.
First of all, now so much is done on self tape.
Right. I was gonna
And
ask you that,
so,
yeah.
yeah, there's so many actors, and I'm not a fan of self tape.
Okay.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
I want to be in the room uh, for a myriad of reasons. One, of course, is I may see something, and it gives me the chance to, say, okay, that was okay, but let's try this.
Yeah.
And, when you're working off a tape, you don't really have that chance and
Yeah. It's
choice.
so
And so there may be somebody that just did okay, but doesn't have the opportunity to work with me and to make it great. So I'm not a huge fan of self tape, but I think when somebody's in the room, you want to do your best. Some of the rooms could be really, really cold. And
yeah. Like just in and out quick.
in and out, and whoever's in there, casting directors, director, producers, whatever, they're not always giving and they're not always warm, and sometimes they're overwhelmed and it's been a long day, and so it's hard. And I just I urge every actor who comes in there to try and break through that and try
Yeah.
and do something memorable, but not too much and not go too far. But you want to connect. You want to connect with the room,
Yeah.
because I may, if you, one line, just one fun, off the cuff, funny improv, out of context, within context, whatever moment
Mhm.
that you do that maybe connects with me and I see something and I look at your eyes and there's something that is reaching out to me saying, give this person a chance,
Mhm.
that they have this, magnetic personality, and, give them maybe have them do it a different way, whatever. But
Yeah.
I just think, any actor, there's nothing harder. You got 5 minutes, if that, to
Yeah.
make an impression. And so make an impression.
Yeah. I love how it sounds like you're so awesome in the room, like
I
it's all,
try.
yeah, like you seems like you really pick up if like it wasn't there, like the take, and you'll like play, like get to it. You'll bother to get to it
Yeah,
regardless.
if
Yeah.
absolutely, for like I said, they could be the right person for the
Yeah.
part, and I got to bring it out, or I just want them to feel better before they leave.
Yeah. Both are such genuine,
Yeah,
like such good intentions. Yeah, that's awesome. So, switching to writing a bit.
sure.
This is general, so I can break it down smaller if like let me know, but what is your writing process generally like? Like how do you know when an idea is worth pursuing? And then to what extent do you outline? And you could also talk about how the process is in a writer's room. And if you on your own, you write on your own as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. No,
So
so
you
kind of
just
like
you
those
just asked
different
me about
ones.
6 questions.
Yeah, I know. So however you want
So
to answer it.
okay. Um, well, I'll share with your listeners the process in a writer's room when
Okay,
you're
awesome.
on a
Yeah.
show. So when I'm doing a series, whether it was Boy Meets World back in the day, or Girl Meets World recently, or
Mm-hmm.
Ghostwriter, even more recent, the way we usually get together, the staff, 6 weeks before production starts, and we kind of talk in general terms for a while of
Mm-hmm.
the story arcs for the season, what we want to accomplish, what the end of the season maybe looks like, what are the steps to get there. We do that for a couple of days, and then we'll start talking more specific stories.
Mm.
And then, we'll have maybe 6 to 8 story ideas, one-liners,
Mhm.
and then we'll start going deeper. And I'll go around the room and say, okay, Jenna, you're going to write that one, the one where they go to New York and they get stuck on a subway. Timothy, you're going to write the one where it's Thanksgiving and the whole family comes over, and basically assign
Mhm.
the different stories.
Okay.
Then we'll start breaking them, and we break them as a whole room. And breaking a story is very simple. It means, what are the beats of the story? What is the
Mm.
outline? What's Act 1 look like? What's Act 2 look like? What's the third act look like? And then we'll beat those out. Usually we have a big whiteboard on the
Mm.
wall, and somebody, usually the writer of the episode, will work the whiteboard, writing things down. Then off of that, I'll send them out for maybe 2 days and say, come back with a beat sheet. And basically, a
Okay.
beat
Yeah.
sheet is a mini outline.
Mhm.
It's not quite an outline, but it's, it's scene by scene.
Yeah.
And I'll look at
And
it. I'll probably look at it with other high level producers. We'll talk about it first. Then we'll call the writer in and say, here are your notes.
mhm.
But they're pretty simple. The story is pretty intact. Go to outline. And at that point, they'll probably go away for 5 days, maybe,
Mhm.
full week, and then hand in an outline. Then we'll do the same thing again. We'll give notes. This time I may engage with more people on the staff to get their feedback. Then either they'll have to submit a revised outline with the changes, or if they're simple enough, I say just go to script.
Mm.
Usually I'll give 2 weeks for a half-hour script, and then they'll hand in a writer's draft, do the note process again. They'll go back, do a second draft,
Mhm.
hand it in. Now, if the script is decent, it's going to enter the next phase, which is called tabling. And that is me as the showrunner, or whoever the showrunner is
Mhm.
the final arbiter, the final voice of the show. and everybody in the room has a script, and we basically go through it line by line and
With
make
everyone.
changes to dialogue. And the reason for tabling the script is you want the voices to be consistent. You want the characters. If I don't table the script, there's a chance that if, let's say it was an episode of Boy Meets World, that Corey in my script maybe would sound different than Corey in your script. So we go through the script, we take out things that don't work, a scene may not work, we change it, and we usually do that for about a week. And now the script has been turned into what's called a table draft.
Okay.
And it's called a table draft because it's the draft that is going to go to table when that episode is up, and the cast is going to read it in front of network and studio.
Okay.
Then the process, I know it's a long answer, but then the process, we do the table read in front of network and studio with the actors. They'll have notes, the network and studio. We'll have notes ourselves because now we're hearing the actors read it. We'll generally do a note session with studio and network. We'll get their notes, then we'll go back to the writer's room. And now we have a day or two, well, actually a day to do the rewrite because the cast they actually start rehearsing after the table read. They start light rehearsing knowing there's going to be changes. But now every rewrite has to happen overnight. So the next morning when the cast comes in, they have the new pages.
Okay.
And then at the end of that day, we'll do a run through where we now see what we wrote up on its feet. The directors had a chance to block it, meaning the movement within the scene. You know, here we are in the living room. You're going to get up. You're going to go halfway up the stairs, realize you forgot something, turn around, come down, blah, 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 blah. That's all blocking.
Yeah.
Then we'll have notes again, and we do it pretty much through the week. And we finally have a network run through. They give us their final notes. We lock the script that night, and we start filming it over 2 days. We pre-tape about 3 or 4 scenes. And then the next day, we run the rest of the show in front of a live audience. And then the scenes we pre-tape will play on monitors so they could see the scenes that were filmed the day before.
Oh, I see. Like the whole thing isn't in front of a live audience. The
No,
pre-tape
because,
is,
so some scenes we pre-tape. Now, sometimes depending on time, even though we own a scene because we taped it the day before, we'll film it once anyway to get the live reaction. So this process I just explained to you is for multicams.
Yeah, for okay.
You know, where there is an audience. Single camera, which is like making a movie, is a little different. So that's pretty much the writer's process for multicams.
Yeah, which is so, and then how long? So from pre-production, so that's like per episode you just described.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And how long how long is that timeline? I know you said each part, but how long is it overall?
Well, you know, it depends. So because we've done about 6, you know, in pre-production before the cast even starts, we're ahead of the game. But I would say the whole thing is generally from you know, sometimes, Jenna, we need a script in a week.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where we'll go to, you know, a writer that we know and trust and say, hey, we need you to turn this around in 3-4 days.
Yeah.
Because we got to be on the floor with it in a week.
Yeah.
So it depends, but that's ideal to be about 6 to 8 episodes ahead.
Okay.
Again, this is based on doing 22 to 26 episodes a year, which is rare nowadays. That, you know, with streaming, that really doesn't exist.
Do you remember your first, like, it must be so fulfilling to see this thing that you've worked on just on paper, like from nothing, from the air, from like on paper, and then like this is, and then just see it like to life.
Sure.
Do you remember that? It's like,
Sure, of course. The first thing I did was a show called Good Advice with Shelley Long. Shelley Long had just been on Cheers, was coming off of Cheers. Also starred the late Treat Williams, who just passed away a couple days ago. And that was the first sitcom. It was a CBS sitcom that I did. And I remember just being so excited watching
Yeah.
it and having everybody sign the script. And in fact, I just posted last week because when Treat passed away, I posted the cover of that script because it had Treat's autograph on it. And he said, "Good job, Treat." And that was a big deal. And then, it's always exciting in some ways.
Okay. Yeah.
But certainly it becomes a little like I've worked on, and when I say worked on, I don't get the written by credit on every episode, but I've written on those episodes and contributed. I've done about 330 half hours of TV. That's a lot. Yeah.
It is. It's so incredible.
So, some really resonate. I did an episode of Girl Meets World about autism, Asperger's specifically, and it was just after one of my sons was diagnosed at 17, being on the spectrum. And I wrote this episode and it got nominated for a WGA award. And that was kind of a big deal. And so when that was filmed, that was personal and meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So still, to this day, 30 years later, there's still things. Listen, I still get excited when I write a movie on my own and hit fade out and then, know that I did something really good. And so it's always an accomplishment. I don't think I ever got jaded.
Yeah, no,
I just sometimes got less excited.
Yeah,
but it's it's still an accomplishment to any young writer out there. Like, celebrate you however you want to celebrate you. You deserve it. It's not easy to write a script.
It's true. Just finishing is something.
Yeah, just starting's hard too.
Yeah, starting, finishing, the middle.
That's it.
Yeah. To what extent, so you hear the advice to write what you know. What do you think about that? No.
No, I think it's bullshit.
Okay.
I have a great answer to it. It's not write what you know. It's know what you write.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Good. Yeah.
You can write anything, just know what you're writing. But I don't believe in people who say just, write what you know. Well, then you're not testing your imagination.
Right.
What does that mean? That means that people who write sci-fi are aliens?
Yeah, no. What does it really mean?
That's
There are
so many Hollywood tropes that are just tropes that people say. And somebody goes, "Oh, that sounds good. I'll say it." And before you know it, everybody says it. And then it becomes a thing. And I'm here to say it's not a thing. It's stupid.
Right.
If you're going to write something, know what you're writing about, but write anything. I wrote a show recently about a 15-year-old female Jamaican boxer and her Jamaican family.
Yeah, I love that.
People thought, "Why are you writing that, Mark? Why am I writing it?" First of all, if I'm writing it, you don't have to know why.
Right.
Right? It's my reason. I write what's on my heart, but then, okay, you want to know the story? Because they're telling me, don't write it. What do you know about Jamaican family? Oh, well, here's the thing. Did you know my mother suffers from mental health issues her whole life, and she was in bed when I was young, and me and my brother had a Jamaican nanny who raised me and became part of the family, and I always wanted to write something for her, and maybe I was, privy to Jamaican culture, which I was, and so I wrote that. People, this is part of the problem. People don't understand what writers are. They think that it's like something like it's going to law school. Right. It's not. It's within you, and you write what's in your heart. You write what's in your soul. You write what's in your head. You write what you've absorbed. We're all witness to the world. And we all see and take away different experiences from the world we observe. But don't tell me what I can write, what I can't write. I'm going to write whatever's on my heart. Now, there's certain things that I would sit down and try and write. I'd quit on page 1 because I couldn't do it. I'm never going to embarrass myself.
Right. Yeah. I love ultimately what you're saying is to follow your instinct, and no one can what I mean? What you like anything you can't write, you can't write. You wouldn't really
You just
try.
don't write.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah. Yeah, I love that. And then another thing, yeah, I was gonna say something else that you said, like but yeah, I love that. It's such a good, it's so true. And then also like the thing that there's no way for anything. So,
It's
give
true.
yourself the permit, like you don't need to seek the permission or anything. You just
No, and too many young writers listen to their reps constantly as if their reps are experts. And some reps are really good and some are really bad.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the agent or manager gets 10% of the money that the writer brings in. The writer gets 90%. So who's the CEO of the business?
Right.
The writer.
Yeah.
But too many writers, young writers, I want to please my rep. I want to do what they say. Blah, blah, blah. And they say all sorts of, again, stupid Hollywood tropey things.
Yeah.
I used to hear all the time, well, Mark, you're a half-hour comedy writer in the family business. That's how they know you. If you write this adult movie, you're going to confuse people. Dude, you go sell it. That's your job.
Yeah.
They're going to read it. They're going to like it or not. I'm going to confuse people?
Yeah.
Like, no. If one day I said, you know what? I'm going to be a heart surgeon. Maybe that would confuse some people.
Yeah.
But if I decide one day to write an adult comedy, I'm not going to confuse anybody. Just read it. Tell me if it's good or not. Tell me if you want to make it. Sorry if you were confused. It's words on a page.
I love that. I love that. And also the percentage thing goes for reps across the board, like for actors listening or, I know a lot of actors they'll be like their rep will like want to choose what take they send or like they want to have like the final say, for instance. And it's like even on a quantitative like literal thing, you are 90% of it. They're 10. So like you choose, you send how you do it, how you want to do it. And you send what you want to send. Yeah.
Right. And not at the expense of an open collaboration discussion.
Yeah. Right.
You could talk to the rep, but
exactly.
at the end of the day, you got to own your own business.
Yeah.
It's your business. Succeed or fail. It's on you.
Right. That's true.
Too many times I've heard young writers go, I don't know, my reps, they messed up. Well, no, that's on you. You let them mess up, Write what you feel is the best representation of you.
Yeah.
As an actor, if there's 5 takes, you know yourself.
Yeah.
You should get to choose.
Yeah. Definitely.
People need to take ownership.
Yeah, it's true. And also just like, and like really be in touch with themselves above anything else. Like before even getting other opinions, know what your opinion is, how you feel.
Be self-aware, know yourself, trust yourself. Writers, if you're a good writer, chances are you're pretty damn intelligent. You can't be a good writer without being intelligent.
Yeah.
So all these, people that then get on social media and ask 20 strangers their opinion, that's pretty disheartening. I mean, you're smart. You know the answer. You don't need, it's just insecurities and people want validation, but sometimes during the trip to validation, you get sidetracked and you end up on the wrong path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Shifting gears a little bit, talk about the WGA strike. What's going on? Go for it.
So this is unlike any other strike. Our last strike was in 2007, 2008. And that was really about, the internet was starting to produce content, a lot of digital content. We wanted to make sure that these platforms were using WGA talent. We wanted to make sure that residuals were in place. Certainly the normal cost of living inflation. We wanted bumps for that. There was a lot of dollars and cents things that we were striking for. And again, streaming was starting. Oh, and DVDs, certainly the transition from VHS tapes to DVDs was happening. We wanted protection. And it was really about a lot of financial things. And it was fairly long, but there was less animosity. This particular strike, there is animosity because there is a complete disconnect between us and the AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Picture Television Producers. And that the AMPTP is Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and then Sony, 20th / Disney, Paramount, and Warner Brother Discovery, basically. So that's who we negotiate with. Besides the financial things that we're looking for, which are residuals we're getting killed on because there's no transparency. We have no idea how shows do. There's no rating system. They know how the shows perform. We don't. And also with residuals, a lot of the streamers own the show. When they put it on their platform for streaming, they assign a license fee to it. And then the writer gets 1.2% of that license fee of the episode they wrote every 3 years.
Every 3 years. Okay.
So normally with, let's say, Disney Plus airs Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. I wrote close to 30 of those combined where it says written by Mark Blutman. If those shows were on the open market, let's say Amazon was airing Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World, the license fee would be roughly $300,000 to $400,000 an episode. I would get 1.2% of each one I wrote times 30 every 3 years. It's a lot of money. Disney, since they own it, they decide what the license fee is. Now, they're supposed to make it market value. First of all, they don't disclose it to the Writers Guild for a very long time till we ask. Then we finally found out they assigned a license fee of about $40,000 an episode, not 400. So I'm getting 1.2% of 40,000.
And do they and they're like, and there's no transparency with that. Like you don't where's the amount coming from?
We find out the numbers, but when I say no transparency in terms of the viewership, in other words, if a show is a huge performer, here's the deal. Disney Plus has 275 million subscribers a month at $10.99. Just in subscriptions, they make about $3 billion a month. It's a lot of money.
It's crazy.
And they don't share it with us. So that's a big part of it. Now, there's the mini rooms. That's a big problem, why we're striking. They started, so the network model and the model for television always was, a bunch of pilots would be developed, written. They'd pick the ones they like and they would shoot a pilot. Now, a pilot could cost anywhere, depending on a kid's show, maybe $1.5 million. And then big budget shows could be $5 to $10 million for the pilot. The streamers decided, why would we throw away that kind of money on a pilot if there's scripts, pilot scripts written that we like? We'll order 6 scripts. 4 scripts, 8 scripts, and we'll make a decision so we could see where the show goes. So they basically tell the showrunner, put together what's called a mini room, get like 4 to 6 writers, write the 6 scripts, and we'll decide. So that's what happens. Now, the showrunner, usually with that kind of pressure, wants some good experienced writers that he knows. So they'll take up most of the writer's budget, and then maybe there's 3 or 4 young writers hired. Everybody works together. They produce those 6 scripts. They hand them in. The streamer goes, oh my gosh, I love this. This show's amazing. We're going to make the show. Great. We're going to get rid of those young writers that helped you. We don't need them. They're done. Their 10 weeks are up. So you and your high-level friend, the co-executive producer, you'll cover the set, you'll produce the episodes, and that's it. So the problem with that is, first of all, it's a lot of work for the showrunner to do everything.
Yeah.
But the big thing is we're not developing these young writers and teaching them how to run a show. They're not on set for their episode. They're not being taken to casting. They're not being taken through the steps of post-production, like editing and sweetening. So we're not developing the next generation of showrunners. Now, upon reflection, my thing is, these are the same executives, these tech lords who want to replace writers with AI and not have writers at all. This was like a baby step to get to where they want, and we didn't see it coming. So their whole thing is, how much can we get away with without writers? So when you look at all that, what's at stake globally? The entire vocation of being a television or screenwriter is at risk. These young writers are not going to be able to have a long career like me and my peers who had success experienced. I'm going to be 65 in a couple of years. I have an amazing pension thanks to the Writers Guild. I've had health insurance my whole career. These young writers who come to LA with the dreams in their eyes and the stories in their hearts, they're not going to be able to sustain a career. They're certainly not going to be able to build a pension and retire one day comfortably unless we take control now and take back the business. The biggest thing right now is these guys who run these companies. What's Apple? You think they care about content? They're in the phone and computer business. Amazon, do they care? They deliver socks and books every day around the world. They don't care. So we have to take back control of our industry right now. And get back to storytelling and get back to young writers being nurtured and developed the way I was when I started, so they can one day run a show and then hire young writers to be on their staff. And so I think, I pretty much covered a lot of what is going on and why this strike is so different. These people who run these streamers, most of them, not all of them, but they don't see us as artists, and they don't see us as valuable. They see us as expendable. And that's a problem. I don't see people going to the Louvre in Paris and ripping paintings off the wall and putting up digital art. Art is to be loved, respected. We did a Boy Meets World themed picket last Friday at Radford. We had some cast members there and a bunch of writers, and fans came in costumes and personal signs. And I had people picketing with us come up to me and say, your show that Michael Jacobs created, but you worked on all these years, is one of the reasons I'm a writer today. Or that episode where blah, 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 helped me through a similar horrible time. This is 30 years later. That's what
incredible, the impact
does. It impacts people for years after. And that's what we do, and that's what we want to protect. The ability to affect, the ability to make people think, discuss, share, find comfort in. All those things, that's part of the magic of movies and television.
100%.
And they want to remove it. They don't value their audience.
It's very important. And it's crazy. Just like, I just never think AI could replace the human, like, creativity, and spirit. Like it can get as close as it can get to, like, all the external thing, but it can't, like, be the thing,
As I said to somebody in an interview recently, AI never lived with my mother. Good luck with that story.
I love that. I love that. Because it's essentially just taking, like, data data.
That's all it's doing is
yeah.
regurgitating stories and dialogue and scenes that it's absorbed, that's been inputted, that it's been fed, and throwing it back out in random order.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's extremely important, and it's like it's crazy. It's scary.
And let's just start with the term artificial intelligence. I want intelligence. I don't want fake intelligence. They're right in the name. Artificial. It's not real.
Yeah.
Like, how can you have something and tell the audience it's not real? Listen, part of the magic and beauty of movies and television series are you, Jen, as an audience member, falling in love with a character on screen, wanting to be with them or wanting to be them.
Yeah.
And that's part of the attraction. As soon as you know it's artificially, manufactured and it's not real, and that crush on a character or that wanting to be a character, as soon as that's gone, then you're not going to have the same interest.
Yeah. And also it's just, we're still creating for human viewers. So like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like humans are creating stories because there's a human experience. There's a human experience. There's a like universal emotional truths to things. So it's just like, it's just how, if our audience were robots, it would make sense for AI to be creating stories for robots.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you for really diving into that.
Yeah.
And okay. I'm going to ask you just a few fun questions. Okay.
Sure.
Just random. If you were a professional athlete, what sport would you play?
Oh, that's easy. Hockey. I grew up playing hockey.
Oh, Canadian.
I grew up in Montreal. I played hockey. I was pretty good. I was a goalie. I was recruited by colleges.
Wow.
I played against Wayne Gretzky when I was 10 years old. He was the greatest hockey player of all time, 99. Hockey. There's a lot of guys I played with as kids from the time I was 8 through 16 that made it to the NHL. Ray Bourque, Denis Savard. So that's an easy one. Hockey.
Okay, amazing. My sister's like that, but with soccer. Like she played in college and she's played with like half of the women's national team today. It'd be like
that's
when she
awesome.
was, like in college, she played with them and now they're on the US team. Okay, so that was easy. Cool.
That was an easy one.
Yeah. What is your horoscope sign and does that mean anything to you?
So it's Virgo. August 27th, but I'm not into it, but people tell me I'm not a typical Virgo.
Okay.
I'm not meticulous. I'm not anal. I'm not well organized.
Okay.
So
whatever.
I don't think I'm a typical Virgo.
Okay, nice. And then, so this podcast is called Behind the Now, but how do you be the now? And that's how you want to interpret it. So if you do anything conscious to be present, or when are you present, or anything about that, like staying present or
I think nowadays it's really, really, really more important than ever before to be present, to be in the now. And what that means to me is being aware of what's going on. There is so much disconnect in our world. There's so much, divisiveness politically. If you're on the left, then you hate the right. Well, wait, does that mean you hate everybody on the right and vice versa? If you're on the right and you don't like the left, does that mean there used to be, everything's so extreme now. The incredible amounts of gun violence. There's like a mass shooting every day and we're numb to it. And because we're so numb to it, that's not being in the now. Just tweeting thoughts and prayers to the people in wherever. I think we really have to be aware of what's going on and make conscious decisions to do better and be better. There's the expression random act of kindness. I don't like random. I don't like act of. I just kindness, be kind. So those are the things. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think you're right. Like random act of kindness is implying that all the other times when you're not randomly acting, what are you being, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think we all have a responsibility to be aware
Yeah.
of what's in front of us, who's in front of us, who's next to us. And I think we need to, which is why this strike, bringing it back to the strike,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be so successful for us. Artists, it's community.
Yeah.
And there is strength in community. And I think neighborhoods, there's no community anymore. There's no people being in the now, being aware of who's around them. People keep to themselves.
Yeah.
People
It's
don't
so
share.
true with
Heads
technology,
down.
especially.
Everything.
Yeah. Everything. Every single
Everybody,
thing.
yeah. You know, we did an episode of Girl Meets World where the kids had to give up their phones, and it was disconnect to connect.
Mm.
And so, you know, that to me is all, you know, part of what you asked about, you know, the now.
Yeah.
And being present. It's connecting with humanity again.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important. And like how you said too, like all this stuff is going on and we're so desensitized to so much of it. But yeah,
it's amazing.
It is. It's amazing. I thought of another question in terms of, so this is going back, but like when you are developing the like storylines in the writer's room, are you thinking about how you want to impact like what's going on globally, what's going on? Yeah, you are. So that's like, of course, part of the conversation. Yeah.
Girl Meets World and Boy Meets World always were very
conscious of
socially conscious shows. And we did an episode in 1995, I think it was 95, of Boy Meets World, where, you know, Corey knocks on Sean's trailer and Sean opens the door and he's trying to get Corey away. And in the background, Corey sees a girl come out of the shower in a towel. And Corey thought Sean was hooking up with the girl and Sean was keeping a secret. And we come to discover in the episode that the girl was sleeping at Sean's because she was getting beaten at home by her father. And there were bruises all over her arm. And that was 1995.
Yeah.
And then we did, you know, the Sean Angela episode, relationship, which at the time was huge. And I was a big part of that. And one of my proudest legacies is being, you know, one of the voices behind that relationship.
Yeah.
I just saw them on, you know, at the Boy Meets World picket. And I have a great picture with Trina and Ryder. And it was very emotional because that was such a, you know, impactful story arc to do at the time. So we try and be aware. On Girl Meets World, same thing. We dealt with homelessness. We dealt with death. We dealt with the environment. You know, we always, and that's what made us so successful, is we always aspired to take the audience to places that other shows wouldn't, but without being preachy and without being in your face. Just, we're going to make you laugh. We're going to make you think. We're going to make you possibly make a difference. You know, we wanted our episodes to result in call to action, meaning some young person saw an episode of Boy Meets World about cleaning up the beaches and maybe they went and cleaned up a beach the next week. That's a call to action. And that was important to us.
Yeah, that's so... and it's so important, like, it's so impactful. It's so important stories, you know, because it's like I think stories are like the fundamental unit of passing information, essentially. Like, that's why, like, when you're in school and you just study like notes, whatever, it's like very external. It doesn't like resonate with you and you don't remember it the same way as if that lesson is through a story. It's like, it was like the first way to transfer information, you know, with humans. And you have, and you have so many, you know, like millions, like you've impacted so many watching that, like these stories each week and just from forever. So it's so good to hear that, like, those conversations, you're aware, but like, you know what I mean? It's with good intention.
Yeah, I have a show right now that's set up. It's based on a young adult book series called Gripped. It's about high school and college football and opioid benzo addiction and mental health issues in kids. And, you know, not poor kids from bad areas, but, you know, upper middle class kids from good families. Bad things happen to good kids from good families as well. And so, to be able to do shows like that and not glorify sexuality and drug use like a show like Euphoria, but, to show kids, from a different side of the tracks who struggle with opioids, struggle with mental health.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's important to me. I have a responsibility, I think, to audiences.
And that's also something, that's extremely relevant today. And I think has gotten much worse over time.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. You're I feel like I could talk to you for forever because you have so much depth and a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Was I amazing?
You were amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.